The story is about Simon Baudry. In the time of the Tzemach Tzedek, so the third Rebbe of Chabad, and it really began before that, the Czar got this diabolical idea of how to transfer the faith of Jewish people to their religion, right? I mean, that's the whole big goal of Christianity, basically, is that everybody should believe like they do, but most especially the Jews. Most especially to catch a Jew, that's a big thing, and make him stop really. Okay, so they tried all sorts of ways to do it, and it didn't really work. Then somebody came up with this brilliant idea: let's get the children in the army. Get the children in the army as they're totally in our control, and we can force them to eat not kosher food, and force them to pray in the morning to our thing, to the church, whatever it is, and then by means of that, they'll grow up and they'll be like us. So I mean, in the end, it didn't work, but it took them a long time to realize it didn't work. It took them, I don't know, 50, 60 years, something like that. And meantime, a lot of Jewish children killed, but there was also a lot of Jews that did become, that not very, very many changed their religion, but they managed to hide it. So they would do what they did. Those were called the Cantonistim. Okay. So here we have a story. A very unusual story. That once a bunch of these, the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Rebbe of Chabad, would try as much as possible to meet with these people and to give them a word. And because it was religion, so somehow or other he got permission. I don't know exactly how they got this to do, but anyway. So the Jewish soldiers, they could see this rabbi. They took them to the rabbi, or maybe they did it secretly, or maybe however it was, he would speak to them. And he also made tremendous efforts to send matzah to the Jewish soldiers on Passover. Okay, so one of the soldiers was called Simon Baudry. This was in the Tsar's navy. Now, the Tsar's navy, that was the pride and joy of the Tsar. They had a huge navy, and it was really very well-functioning navy. And in the end, they lost to the Japanese in a battle, even though that they outnumbered the Japanese 2 or 3 to 1, whatever. But they lost nevertheless, which that was one of the big embarrassments of the Tsar, and one of the beginnings of the end. That the people lost their faith in their pride and joy. The Tsar, they lost this. Okay, so anyway, so this is before that. So the Tsar came to himself came to the naval bases to inspect what was going on. It's hard for us to comprehend the awe and the fear and reverence that the people had for the Tsar. Hard for us to imagine what it was. The Tsar was all powerful. He was the identity of the people. He was the Russian people. So comes the Tsar to this place. And of course, they spent weeks, shining everything up and cleaning everything up. And everyone's standing at order, at attention, and with their uniforms, sparkling and white and beautiful. And the orchestra is playing, and the Tsar is walking and is observing and this. And the commander of the base and said, "And now, Your Honor, the Tsar, we would like to make a special present for you, one of our most honored sailors, to show how the superiority of the Russian Navy, that no one can match these feats of greatness. Simon Baudry comes out, salutes the Tsar, runs at full speed, sweeps up a big, huge backpack, sweeps up another one, a big pack with swords and spears and things, and all sorts of these paraphernalia. And the thing must weigh 100 pounds at least. And he runs to a ship, and he jumps over, from the dock to the ship, and he goes to the mast of the ship, the high mast. In those days, the ships were mostly, with sails. He goes up and he climbs up the mast of the ship, climbs to the very top of the mast of the ship, with the, it's like 3 stories high, however it is, and it's just amazing. Just without stopping, and he stands on the tip of this mast, and he says, "Your Majesty, the Czar, we will do anything for you. Long live the king." And he jumps off the mast into the water. He jumps over the deck, and this arched, beautiful dives in to the water and swims with all the packets and everything, that swims onto the shore and stands at attention in front of the Czar. So the Czar said, "That was just beautiful. That was just so inspiring. This is a true soldier of the Russian Navy. This is a true sailor. If we have more like you, for sure we are invincible. What is your rank?" Said, "My rank is, I am a, whatever it is, I don't know the ranks of it, a petty something, nothing. I'm a private." So he said, "From now on, you are no longer a private Simon Beaudry. You are a major Simon Beaudry." He said, Simon Beaudry said, "Thank you," and everyone's clapping their hands. He said, "But I cannot do that, Your Majesty." He said, "Why not?" He said, "I would really like to. But I'm a Jew, and a Jew cannot be an officer." The Tsar said, all of a sudden, the Tsar was like embarrassed. It's not going the way he wanted. He said, "A Jew? What's he going to do now?" So he, Simon Beaudry, he sort of didn't really care what the Tsar said, but, he wanted to do, that was the law. The law was that a non-Jew cannot be an officer. So he thought the Tsar would say, "Okay, at ease," or something like that. But the Tsar said, "If so, then you will become a Russian Orthodox." Wherever the Tsar went, his priests went with him, right? So the priests were there. The priests have these big high hats and a big beard and everything. It looks very, austere of it. And so the turns around to the priest who was standing right behind him, and he says, "Yes, I will. Yes, yes, Your Majesty, yes." And everybody claps their hands. "That's wonderful. And you will become not just a major, you will become a colonel. Colonel." And he says, "Before you do this, Your Majesty, I would like to do one more time the feat which so inspired you, as a sign of my gratitude to the king." He runs back to the ship, and he jumps over from the dock onto the ship and climbs up the mast as far, and he gets onto the tip, and he screams out, "I was born a Jew, and I am living a Jew, and I will die a Jew. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad." And he jumps off of the mat, jumps off the top into the water, and he doesn't come up. And everybody's waiting, and he doesn't come up. And they're waiting. How long can a person? This is a real feat. Under the water for a minute, for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. All of a sudden, they realize after 5 minutes, he's not going to come back up. 10 minutes passed. The Tsar tells them, "Play music." And they're playing the music, and they carry on. And so a few weeks later, the body of Simon Beaudry washes up somewhere on the shore further down, and they don't know what to do with him. So they take his body and they put it in some sort of a secluded place, and they put guards over it until they decide what to do. On one hand, he was an honored soldier, but they can't bury him in this, and went against the dark. So there he is laying there. So they finally decide that they're going to bury him in an unmarked grave. So they bury him in an unmarked grave. 2 Jews, other soldiers there, came in the middle of the night, snuck over where he was, the place where he was buried, and they dug up the body. They dug up the body. They put another body there, or whatever it is, who buried in a coffin. They filled the coffin with stones, whatever it was. They dug up the body, they took it away, and they buried it somewhere else. They buried it somewhere else. And in a few days, somehow or other, somebody revealed that something's wrong going on over here. They said the place where he was buried, that it had been tampered with, and they looked and they found that it was So the Tsar made a decree, found this whole thing, and he said, we have to find the two people, whoever dug this up, and we're going to hang them. Hang them. And sure enough, one of them, I think, killed himself. I don't remember. And the other one, they hung and they buried him. They say that the place where these people who dug up Simon Beaudry, where they're buried, and they buried them, had become a place where people would go and they would pray. And their prayers would be answered. Their prayers would be answered. And when the Tzemach Tzedek heard this story, he was very, of course, pained by Simon Beaudry, but on the other hand, he was very happy that there was such total self-sacrifice for Judaism. It showed that the Tsar would not succeed. And sure enough, either it was this event or a similar event. As far as I know, there was a similar, not this event, it was a similar event that made the Tsar realize that this whole system of the Cantonists could never succeed, that a Jew is always a Jew, and if pressured, it'll come out from hiding and be revealed. Hopefully, God's will is that's what's happening now. This anti-Semitism, etc., that's bursting out to the whole world is just bringing the hidden Jewish soul of every Jew in the world to be revealed. And that is first step for sure. And hopefully, immediately after that, the last to bring Mashiach and the Geula now. Have a good day. God bless you all. See you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you.